Hey everybody, Billy Bob here, and my good friend and our special guest, Eric Buckeye Boggs, also known as the Podfather. And now also known as, let me turn my volume down on my phone, it's always a bonus. I had technical difficulties today, folks. But as I now find out, also known as Biggie Pods. Do you have your hat and your glasses there, Biggie?
Yeah, they're over there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we now, whether you know it or not, we got two rappers on. We got Biggie Pods and we got Sir Talks a Lot.
Who would have known?
I mean, we got Hypnotic and we got Big Butts, Oh, man. So, folks, my apologies. I believe it was technical difficulties it was definitely on my end. Whether it was me or not, I'm not sure. My computer's been running slow all day. Of course, when you got a million things open on your computer, it tends to run slower. And then I may or may not have forgotten a key. What do they call it? Like a key that I needed to copy and paste into Restream. So my apologies. Here we are. We got the Podfather. We're going to talk Buckeye football, but first and foremost, let's say or give our condolences to the Hamlin family, Denny Hamlin and his family. They had a fire at his parents' house in North Carolina. His father died as a result of the fire, and his mother is in critical condition in the burn unit up in North Carolina. So our prayers are with them. What a tragedy in today's world of smoke alarms and all the different detectors. And who knows what went wrong, but it went tragically wrong in this case. So hate to open the show on a little bit of a down note, but as I always say, for what life gets in the way sometimes of our plans, and it does. So now I have something I'd like to show. I got a new pair of baby got a new pair of shoes, you know, a little
Nice.
Go Bucks. It's one of my Christmas presents to myself. The other is for another show. It's my fire hose, Duluth fire hose pants with the gusset. So I'll have to show them off, See if I can do any what do they call it? Splits with my gusset, new gusset. So Boggsy, how's your day? I mean, yeah.
It's been a busy day. They're all busier lately than not, but yeah, it's just been a kind of the calm before the storm, I guess you could say.
I look like I've been drinking, but I actually haven't. It's just like when the weather changes, my cheeks get rosy. So, but I should be, but I try and moderate or eliminate on Monday and Tuesdays. But I did have one. So you put out a video earlier today
Mhm.
about, well, maybe more than one. One I saw was regarding, and that was on my list of Chip Kelly to Northwestern.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I
I
didn't
don't think anybody
expect
did.
him. I didn't expect him. Like I don't believe you and Chris expected him to come back to Ohio State, but I didn't. But Northwestern was not on my bingo card, as they say.
Yeah, so uh I was getting signals from different people associated to the Ohio State program that he would not be returning to Ohio State. And the assumption I was under was that he didn't want to come back to college, that he didn't want to deal with recruiting and NIL and all of those things. But then he took several interviews from college teams, including Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and I thought, well, that's interesting for a guy who doesn't want to come back to college. But yeah, and he goes to Northwestern. So this is an interesting move to say the least. I like Chip Kelly. I appreciate what he was able to do as offensive coordinator for one season at Ohio State. But there's some mixed signals there. And so Chris and I dove into, maybe some of the reasons why he doesn't want to return to Ohio State. And the biggest factor I can come up with, Billy Bob, is that he just doesn't enjoy recruiting. That is well documented from his time at UCLA. When he was
Yep,
at Ohio State, he didn't go out and recruit very hard. He just wants to sit back and call plays and be an offensive coordinator. That's kind of what he wants to do here in the twilight of his career, and he's earned that right to say that that's what I want to do. And that seems to be okay with Brom over at Northwestern, who is a younger guy who's all about going out and getting recruiting. And you know, in the world of NIL, they come to you now, so you don't even have to really go out and go get them. They just kind of can come to you, and so seems like it's a good move for from Northwestern's perspective. But yeah, sounds like it was not going to be a fit for um, at Ohio State. We kind of speculated as to maybe Ryan Day was like, that's probably a good thing because we're friends. You're my mentor, and I'm going to expect someone who's going to go out and recruit and fill those shoes. And if that's not what you want, then maybe it's better we just, cordially go our separate ways as far as our working careers. But I don't think for one second that they're not still great friends and that he
sure.
still doesn't look at Chip. But those calls are going to be very different nowadays since he's in the Big Ten.
Yep. And sometimes regurgitation just doesn't work, right? So so sometimes that second time around. So by the way, hey, we got Foxy Bob, we got Acoustic Larry, Maddie Maddie B as opposed to Maddie P. We got Maddie B from over there in Aussie land. And so Larry Daniels, Acoustic Larry says Chip's stacking up some fails, not as desirable as he once was. And maybe that's true. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the UCLA fans really had it out for him when he left, which is interesting. They feel like he really failed them as a head coach. They were expecting the Chip Kelly of Oregon, and that is not what they got when he went to UCLA. Um, different era, NIL, transfer portal, those things didn't exist when he was at Oregon first time around in the Pac-12, back when he was in the Pac-12. Then he goes
Yep.
off to the NFL, different world there. Goes to the Raiders, makes it 11 weeks. I mean, I don't know who made it longer, him or Urban. I have to go back and look at that.
I believe Chip did.
Oh my, that's not
I
good for
believe,
Urban.
yeah, I believe Chip made it a little longer than Urban. Once
When
he
you're at
kicked
a
the kicker or smacked the kicker or whatever he did to the kicker,
pick
then
the
he was
kicker.
kicked the kicker. But so, you said at UCLA, when he left UCLA, they really had it out for him. There was another guy, and you just brought up his name, that when he left the university he was coaching at, they really had it out for him too, and that was Urban. I mean, when living down here in Florida, man, the Florida Gator fans were brutal.
They
Even though
were
he won them 2 national
they were
championships.
bitter. Let's call it
Oh,
like it. They were bitter.
bitter. They called him Urban Liar and,
Yeah.
a number of other things. So, before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't, and we don't need to really dig deep into this. Uh, we got Kyle Whittingham uh, over at the Maize and Blue, and the only thing I'll say about that, from my perspective, is, and I don't know if you saw the one of the number, but there were a number of posts from Portnoy, and I know you guys don't like him at all. I kind of tolerate him, and I think sometimes he's funny. And as Mrs. Billy Bob says, sometimes he's just out for clickbait. But he was going on and on. I don't know if you saw this, going on and on about how that they didn't go after Kalen DeBoer and Kenny Dillingham because that's not who they are. They weren't going to go out and poach those guys, and that's not what Michigan men do. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Dave. You should have left that one in the can. There's that, I don't know what it's called, but there's an acronym for thinking before you post or send an email, right?
Hmm.
So I think he should have waited on that. You have no comment on Portnoy?
Dave shouldn't open his mouth at all.
Yeah, well, that's
That's my
probably good.
comment. Or type.
Last thing before we get into the game, and this kind of goes with the game, but you guys mentioned this in your Northwestern Chip Kelly post, but I had a note on it to ask you about him before. Is it would appear, based on the comments from Lincoln Keenholz, that this will be his last year as a Buckeye, because even before Chip went to Northwestern, whether he goes there or not, maybe he doesn't even care for Chip, who knows? But he said, my goal is to play in the NFL, and I will have to basically go wherever I need to go to accomplish that goal. So
Yeah, interesting comments. They weren't the most interesting comments from the interviews yesterday, but they were definitely some of the more interesting comments. This was always going to happen. I feel like it's kind of inevitable. Billy, I'm like, we shouldn't be surprised by this.
no,
You
no,
know,
not at all.
this is a young man who was the Gatorade High School Athlete of the Year. Um, This is a young man who played 3 sports and was basically all state in all 3. Now, I understand it was in the Dakotas. I get that. But incredible athlete. I don't care what you could be in the state of confusion. And if you're if you're still the Gatorade Athlete of the Year from your
Yeah.
state and you're the all state in all 3 sports, even in the state of confusion, you're still really good, right?
Yes.
So this kid deserves the opportunity, and he's not going to get the opportunity to start at Ohio State unless something tragic happens to Julian Sain. And, knock on wood, we don't want to see that happen to the young man. And so if he's going to reach his goals, which he was very clear on what his goals are, then he's going to have to leave and go to a different school. Chris brought up Northwestern as a possibility because of Chip Kelly.
Sure.
I hadn't thought of that until Chris brought it up, and I thought that was really interesting. I foresee him going to going back somewhere more closer to home, more out west, maybe a Boise State, something like that. I think Boise State's quarterback might be in the portal right now, so they might be looking for one. But I don't know. Give them the opportunity. I don't want to see these kids leave and fail. And
Right.
the timing of this is really interesting because will he leave after this game? That's what's interesting. Devin Brown entered the transfer portal, but then stayed with Ohio State. Ended up at Cal, didn't even win the starting job.
Right.
Didn't play hardly at all this year.
So the one thing about him is in playing for the Buckeyes, the question to your point is whether when he leaves. But as you're in the playoff, you have a different set of rules for the portal, as I understand it.
You can
You
enter
have
and still stay with your team, yes.
right, but you could also wait and enter the portal 30 days or right after your team ends its playoff run, and you have 30 days, 30 days to declare.
You're probably better off to put your name in the portal now.
True.
As opposed to waiting, because some of these schools might be like, "Ooh, we want to give ourselves the opportunity to wait for him." And if they don't know if you're going to be in the portal or not, now
Right.
obviously these kids have agents now. These agents can make phone calls and everything else, but there are so many quarterbacks in the portal.
Yeah.
It's musical chairs.
I saw as many as the rumor was as many as 26.
I mean, it's probably more than that. And how many of them were actually starters on good football teams at good
Right.
schools like Power 4 schools?
Yep.
Starting quarterbacks at Power 4 schools, easy enough for me to say, who are now chasing NIL dollars. That is what this is about, right? I
Right.
made $1 million or I made 500,000. My agent says, "Man, you're worth 2.5 or you're worth 1.5 in the portal. Get in there." It is literally NFL free agency every offseason in college football now.
Yep. I see the kid from I think it was today, kid from North Texas, and North Texas had a great year.
Yeah.
Mestamaker
Mhm.
said he was entering the portal. By the way, we have a Canes fan in the crowd tonight, Cliff Ray.
I
Although
enjoy cane sauce. That's pretty
he
good.
lives
Cane
in
sauce.
Arizona. What's that?
I said I enjoy cane sauce. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
lives in
Little Cane's
lives in
chicken.
Arizona now, but he was down in Miami land, Canes world for a long time. James McGovern, Jimmy the Meat Man, as I say, and he has nothing to do with this show, but he's say go Steelers. Well, Jimmy the Meat Man, who I've known a long time, we're rooting, at least I and Browns fans are rooting for the Steelers to knock off the stinking Ravens. We beat you guys. We still want you to win the division. Let's go knock off the stinking Ravens. And then we got Richard Nardakia from Richard. Where does he live now? Vermilion, Ohio, I think. So
Nice. All
Ohio
right.
boys. So all right, let's get into. We've got, and by the way, Boggsy wasn't going to be on the show tonight, and I talked about last night that he wasn't going to be on the show because he told me he was doing a live tailgate show, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I messaged him. I said, Boggsy, just to clarify, you're doing this live tailgate show on Tuesday night pregame? He's like, oh man, I thought it was Tuesday.
That's
So
how rough it's been.
tell
for me.
everybody about tomorrow night. You got a live show pregame, 6
Yeah,
p.m. Tell them about
6 o'clock tomorrow night on our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a tailgate hangout. We might throw the link out there to some people, have them jump on, invite some people, just to basically like you would a tailgate, right? Talk about the game, get yourself hyped, eat some food, have some drinks. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then that's going to roll right over into the game watch at 7:30 on our Patreon channel. So if you want to hang out, watch the game with us, become a Patreon member. It's only $5 a month, and you can sit down with us, sit down with the chat, watch the game with us. Corey, we call him the online voice of the Buckeyes.
it.
Dr.
Yeah.
Corey will be doing the play-by-play. Chris and I will be offering our color commentary, and it's awesome. It's I think one of the best things to do. Now, not everybody likes to do it because they're like, "Hey, I want to watch the game in peace." I get it. Some people like to go out, hang out with people, and watch the game. But if you can't do that and you want to try this, we invite you to come over to Patreon, sign up for a month, and give it a whirl.
Dr. Corey back in the OH, up
Yeah.
in the Toledo area.
First time in the OH. He had
Oh,
never
first
lived
time. I thought
he
he
had
lived.
never lived here
Okay.
before. No. His family was from here, but he was born and raised in Florida.
And his former partner at Scarlet and Great, Johnny, was originally from the OH, I believe.
Yeah,
But,
he was. I think he lives in Kentucky now.
does he?
Yeah, I think
Because
he lives in northern.
he was down here for a little bit too, I
Was he?
think.
Yeah.
But maybe he's back up in Kentucky. He went halfway back or most of the way back.
I think his wife and her family are all from Kentucky,
Yeah.
and that's where they're
Okay.
living now. Yeah.
And then the wild man said Bobby's cooking him up some tailgate food, and I heard you. I did not know that Sarah was not feeling well. So
Sarah had a heart attack.
yes, fingers crossed. Hope everything. Yeah, I mean,
She got a clear bill of health today, so she's doing well. So we thank the good Lord for that. She has been dealing with minor heart attacks since September, and
wow,
they were misdiagnosed as anxiety. And last Monday, she went in for a stress test and had a heart attack during the stress test. They found a blockage in the widowmaker in the front, and yeah, 70% blocked. They were able to get a stent in there, and knock on wood, it's been 8 days now since that operation, and she's not had an attack since. So it's working. So
wow,
we feel incredibly
yeah.
blessed. She's able to drive. She drove today for the first time since then. So yeah, all is good. Good to have a healthy wife again. That was scary for a
Yeah, I was
while.
going to say most everybody, a lot of people know, but maybe not everybody. Sarah is Eric's wife. So
Yeah.
yeah, great news. Great news. All right. So we're going to we'll talk about the Buckeyes. And then if we have some time here, which we should, even though I was derelict in getting things going on time, we're going to talk about the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 10, Miami. Ohio State is the home team. The higher seeds in the playoffs are the home team. So my guess is the Buckeyes would be wearing scarlet and gray, scarlet jerseys with the gray pants. It's at AT&T Stadium, also known as Jerry's World, and it's going to be 72 degrees inside, no wind,
Beautiful.
a light wispy breeze maybe. TV, it's ESPN. It's on New Year's Eve, 7:30 Eastern time. Ohio State is a 9.5-point favorite. And interestingly enough, the over and under came down again yesterday or today. It is now 40 and a half.
Mm.
It was 42 and a half, dropped to 40 and a half. And lastly, ESPN has their matchup predictor or whatever they call it, and 70.5% on the matchup predictor is Ohio State. Now, that doesn't mean a lot. That's just a predictor. But when you look at these stats you guys ran down the other day, you ran down the tail of the tape, and it actually is pretty pretty even across the board, even though the Miami fans or the Miami Hurricane Facebook page posted their tail of the tape, which was off by a reasonable margin.
Yeah,
So,
don't know where they're getting those stats from. Uh,
yeah,
I went straight to Miami's website. Okay, I'm getting this from their own statisticals. Like,
right.
I don't know what they're getting it from, but it's very close statistically. Now, Miami has a very huge advantage on two fronts, and one of them is turnovers. They are turning their opponents over almost, if I recall, almost 2 a game. Ohio
Yep.
State is less than 1 a game. So, their defense, Billy, is,
Either
kinda
one.
it's all or nothing, man. It's all or nothing, dude. It feels like they are, kind of like you can catch them and or they're going to jump a route and get an interception, right? Like it feels like that defensive backfield is kind of risky, but it's risk reward style based off of those numbers. Obviously, their defensive line can create havoc, can create turnovers, fumbles, fumble recoveries. But defensively, they have a distinct advantage in that every other statistical category, for the most part, outside of red zone scoring, where they also own a statistical advantage.
Yep.
Every other statistic category that you look at that is important for the most part is owned by the Buckeyes slightly, meaning rushing yards, passing yards, total yards, offense, rushing defensive yards, passing defensive yards, total yards given up by the defense, third down percentages, all of it. Ohio
Points
State
per
is
game.
points per game, all of it. Ohio State slightly better than Miami in all of it. Now, I'm going to push back on Miami fans and say a lot of your stats are coming against really bad ACC football teams. And they'll say, well, the Big Ten ain't that much better. So far, how's the Big Ten look in the postseason there, Billy Bob?
Yeah. Yeah. I did I talked about it last night. They were, as of last night, they were 5-0. That said, the ACC is doing much better than they did a year ago because last year they were 2-11 in bowl games.
Whew,
This year they're at least 4-4. So
500, baby.
yeah, but yeah, and even the SEC right now. I talked about this as the SEC. Their middle teams are not as good as people think they are. They're
No.
2-4 in the bowl games, and Missouri, who hadn't beat a team with a winning record, um, lost. Who'd they lose to? Virginia. So the other night.
To their defense, though, again, they backup quarterback, and that's one of the reasons why it's hard to take postseason games and really make an argument one way or the other about it. But since they want to do that and they've done that for years, I like to throw it back in their face when it comes to the SEC. So,
Yep. So the Hurricanes are led by Carson Beck, 26 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, 10 interceptions. He has a propensity to throw interceptions, right?
yeah, if you can, he'll give you the football if you get some pressure on him. So, yeah, this is a big game for the lines for Ohio State. But I say that every game just about, Billy Bob. I do. It's like it is truly where games are won and lost in the trenches.
In the
And
trenches. And defense travels too, right, Bugsy?
exactly, right? So, but here's the thing. If Ohio State's offensive line can give Julian Sain time to throw the football, I don't think Miami stands a chance. But if our offensive line, excuse me, plays like they did against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, we are in for a dogfight in this game. It's that
Yeah,
play.
5 sacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 sacks, and and only given up 6 all year going into
Yep.
that game.
We've given up 11 sacks now, and almost half of them came in one game. Terrible performance by that offensive line. Now, Ohio State fans are going to say there was a lot that went into that. Tager Shabolo apparently wasn't healthy. Okay. Um, Brian Hartline left in the middle of the week, got a job, and really disrupted the flow of the offense. Okay. I'll give you both of those. But that being said, you lost so many one-on-one blocks, just straight up one-on-one. None of that had to do with schemes. None of it had to do with your offensive coordinator leaving for another job. Like, it was just a lack of concentration and a lack of effort by that offensive line. And I hope they took it personally, because I know they're better than that. They played much better than that during the regular season. And you can't tell me that that defensive line for Indiana is that much better than the defensive line that you dominated in Ann Arbor.
Yep. And so a lot of people say, and maybe you, the offense was disrupted by Hartline leaving. I agree. There is some degree of that, but we had it. There was a time, I believe, we had a 70 and an 80-yard drive, and we came away with either 3 or no points in those two.
Only got 3 points on those two possessions. So that's not necessarily because the coach decided to take a job in the middle of the week. It had a lot to do, I think, with some stubbornness by this coaching staff to want to try to do something that was predetermined earlier in the week when they set up the game plan on Monday and Tuesday. On, hey, when we get within so many yards on the red zone, we're going to go to 14 personnel, and they stuck with that and they didn't adjust. Here's hoping that they adjust before the game against Miami on those, because it's not working at all. It's just, you're not getting, it's too predictable, and you're not getting enough push up front.
So
you got two of the best players in college football. Use them. Use them.
We've been really good at the fade, the corner routes, the fades, the back shoulder. Now, a couple of things with that. And as far as I see it, we haven't been great in the red zone, especially down around the goal line, all year long. We struggled all year long, and for some of the same reasons. However, if we're going to run 14, you got to understand you're going to bring everybody in, right?
Right.
The cornerbacks aren't going to be out there covering nobody. They're
Correct.
not going to be out there. And the other thing, I believe Donaldson only played 1 or 2 snaps in the game, kind of similar to what he did against the Wolverines. And so if you're going to run that 14 personnel, wouldn't you want the guy who we consider, at least I consider, to be the biggest power back we have, the kind of like the hammer, or at least have him leading? Now, Nate Roberts has done a fairly good job being the lead blocker. But then we ran, say, in I don't know, in college you can do the tush push, right? They do it all the time when the pile, but we haven't done. We seem to shy away from a tush push.
We've tried it. Julian is not who I want to be pushing the tush of, though.
Well, you want Lincoln, right?
Yeah, give me Lincoln, man. He's a bigger kid. He's plus he could throw the football, roll him out, man, surprise him a little bit. Like, I just think that we got a little bit too conservative, too predictable down on the goal line. And it's not what this team, it's not the strength of this team. You're playing into the strength of your opponent when you force yourself to do things like that. So I want to see us have a different goal line attitude, a different goal line. I hate to say package, but maybe we need to have a different package on the goal line, and go with something a little bit different here in these playoff games. because it's going to be critical that we get 7 and not 3 in games
Right.
like this.
Definitely. So Acoustic says strength of opponent advantage Buckeyes, and then the Buckeyes need to trust Sayin to spread the offense and Sayin to break pocket for a couple yards if need be. And I agree with that. Julian hasn't really run the ball at all in the last couple games. Even whether it's for 5 yards or instead of throwing it away, maybe you can pick up 3. So don't pull your big slow TEs and your tight ends in the game. So although Max Clare is not slow, but if he's in tight, he's not.
Again, you're
He's
not
not
really
going out in
utilizing
the.
him.
Yeah, he's not going out on a route. So there's one thing I had in my mind, but so if we're down by the goal line and we can actually score, which we need to do to your point, score touchdowns, then and we can harness. And A&M did a good job of harnessing Malachi Tony. If you can, the kid's quick, and he's very speedy, and he's a true freshman. So, but he's a true freshman. But we had a true freshman last year out on the edge, a lot bigger, a lot stronger. But we relied on him a lot to win a championship game. So one of the things you mentioned just a little bit ago is the DBs are kind of like for Miami are kind of like a all or nothing jumping routes, right?
Yep.
And if there's one thing that Julian has struggled a little bit in, we can't say he's struggled a lot because he hasn't struggled a lot all year, but I believe it was the Penn State game and the game against the Blue. He throws that quick, and Howard did it last year too. I think wasn't Howard did it against Penn State, but a couple times this year Julian's done it. Throws that quick out route, and they're sitting on that route, and he's got picked a couple times.
Yeah.
So
we need to be careful on spotting the many points, right?
yeah, maybe let's not throw that quick out route in the first series.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let's
or a
loosen
hitch
them
and
up a little
go.
bit.
Maybe a hitch and go. Maybe we see they're looking on that, and Jeremiah just leaves them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be great. As much as those corners have struggled for Miami, and they're going to be without their very best one too tomorrow, as Damari Brown has been ruled out for this game. Their safeties are very good though, so they'll have plenty of safety help against Jeremiah and Carnell Tate. This is the type of game where I look for someone like a Brandon Ennis. I look for someone like our tight ends to have really, really good games in the middle of the field, down the seams.
Yep.
Because that's if your safeties are going to be leaning more towards the outsides to stop Smith and Carnell Tate, that the middle of the field is where you can really hit them.
Yep. And they've got pretty good linebackers. They've got one guy who's really good. He played transferred from Rutgers, Muhammad Toure. So we know a lot about him. Big and mobile, but and so what do you see? Do you see us setting up the run with the pass? You see us Ryan Day, as he said, I'll step on the gas when it's necessary.
Yeah. Well, are you asking me what I think? Or you asking me what I hope?
Well, it's kind of a blend.
Okay.
What you think you hope to see?
Okay. Yeah. What I think I would hope to see is a very aggressive play calling style from Ryan Day, very similar to what we have experienced last season in the playoffs against Tennessee, Oregon, Texas to a degree, and then Notre Dame, where the offense was very, very aggressive. The offense was, kind of all gas, no brakes. Um, I would love to see that same thing here. I don't think you're going to see that to the same degree. I don't know that this team necessarily, or Ryan Day for that matter, have the same level of, well, we got nothing to lose here, right? That's literally where he was at this time last year. I've got nothing to lose. This might be my last game at Ohio State. My wife's at home packing the boxes up, packing the house up. She's ready to leave
Yep.
Columbus. And then if he coaches that way, I think this Ohio State team's going to win comfortably. If he coaches not to lose and he gets, puckered up, tightens up, gets kind of conservative, runs to open up the pass, this is going to be a dogfight. This is going to be a
Yep.
low scoring game. And that's what I think is more likely to happen than the scenario I laid out for you at the beginning of this comment. But that being said, all my co-hosts, except for Corey, the rest of them, they all think we're going to go out there and we're going to just all gas, no brakes offensively.
Yeah. So Ryan Day, would you say? I'll give you this. I'll give you like you gave Jimmy from the Miami Knights. True or false question? True or false? If Julian Sand struggles somewhat, Ryan Day gets more conservative. True or false?
True.
So, so we need the line to do the job.
Yep.
We need him to be on target and be on schedule, as Ryan Day loves to talk about. So there you go. Anything else on the Buckeyes before we touch on the other games a little bit?
It's going to be fun. I'm not nearly as nervous as I normally am for a game. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'll probably get nervous by the time this rolls around tomorrow. I typically don't feel those butterflies until the game kicks off, and then it's like, okay, this is for real. Here we go. You kind of get that old back in the day playing feelings, a
Sure.
little bit. But um, I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. Like I'm not like super nervous or anything. So I'm more excited than anything because this to me, this game, it reminds me of one of the best moments of my life. 2003, man, that national championship game. That whole season was just magical to me. I was a sophomore in college. And this has got all those feels again to me, playing this team. I don't think 2010, 2011 did not feel like this because those were regular season games that really no one really cared about, and especially in
Right.
2011 when you had like an interim coach and a roster that was makeshift, and it's just like we just need to get through the season, right? This has got a big game, big time feel to it, and Miami's kind of always been back there, and it's good to go back, I guess, all these years later, 22 years later, and go back there and be like, 23 years later and be like, hello, friend, do you remember us? I kind of like
But
this.
yeah. So I actually am the opposite. I've been nervous. I am nervous. And I get like that. Sometimes I get like that for average games, but definitely like that. I know about '03, uh, and I know I lived in Miami, not in '03, but I lived there 15 years. I went to a lot of Canes games. And so the fans are wound up. They don't forget. And we just got to go out and do our job. And, uh, and I think we'll win it. But what we didn't know last year is the same thing we don't know this year. We're coming off a loss. We're sitting there on the sidelines. Now, last year we got to play a week early. This year we're 3 weeks, and we're like, okay, what are we going to get? The Forrest Gump box of chocolates. What are we going to get? Now, the one thing different than last year is last year, if I remember correctly, the first round games and the second round games were only 1 week apart. Where this year they're 10 days apart, 10 days, 12 days, something like that. So maybe Miami doesn't, and the teams that played in the first round don't have quite the same advantage of playing 1 week, then the next week kind of getting into a cadence. I don't know. That's a good hope because all the bye week teams last year lost.
They all lost.
Yeah.
They all lost.
So, hey, we got Mike Franklin. Mike Franklin's in. He's hanging out in Tuscaloosa, but not because he's a Bama fan, but because he's got a job that he's supervising down there. So good to see you, Mike, or good that you're joining in. I can't see you. All right, next up, and these aren't in order of time. They're not chronologically, but these are all games that are being played on January 1st, New Year's Day. The All-State Sugar Bowl, number 3, Georgia, number 6, Ole Miss, Caesars Superdome, again, 72 degrees. Nice sunny, or nice comfortable 72. Georgia's 6.5-point favorite. The over and under, look at this. The over and under for the SEC that plays defense, right? The over and under is 55.5. Did I just tell everybody the over and under for the Buckeye game is 40.5? Here we're at 55.5. ESPN predictor gives Georgia a 60% chance. Games at 1 on January 1st, ESPN, which has all the games, but I'll say it. And it's an 8 p.m. game, which I may not see the whole thing, especially with a lot of games on New Year's Day, but we'll see. They did play earlier this year. Georgia won 43-35. That game was in Athens, and it was in mid-October. So what are your thoughts on this game? Or do you have many thoughts on this game?
Well, I'll say this. I feel that this is advantage Georgia for one thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about at Oxford, Mississippi, and that is the fact that they lost their head coach in Lane Kiffin. Now, I understand the Ole Miss fans were ready to move on. I understand why they were ready to move on. They were tired of the drama, tired of all the rumors, tired of him flirting around with every other SEC program known to mankind every time they would come knocking. I get it. I understand how they like that they got a new head coach who's all in on Ole Miss. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going to be flirted with and going to be leaving Ole Miss anytime soon, if ever at all. But he ain't Lane Kiffin. And defensively, they're going to be fine. But this is going to be a little bit different of a game. And if you gave up that many points to Georgia the first time, you better lock down the hatches, boys, and you got to come with more firepower defensively than that. Because this Georgia team is going to hit you in the mouth hard in this football game. I think losing Lane Kiffin for this is going to hurt them offensively, even though they got still the same offensive staff who happened to be going with Lane Kiffin, but they are staying on for this run. I just don't think they have the depth to hang with Georgia for 4 quarters when so much more is riding on the line. I got Georgia winning this football game by 2 scores.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, they both have really good offenses, right? Although it looks like Ole Miss has a little better offense. However, Georgia has the better defense. So, and Gunnar Stockton is a whole different quarterback today. He actually has impressed me where beginning of the year, I wasn't impressed at all. But here's a guy, 23 touchdowns, 8 on the ground. So total of 31 touchdowns counted for, only got 5 picks. So he's done a good job. But Trinidad Chambliss, a pretty damn good quarterback too. Got
he's pretty athletic, man.
Yeah, he's got he's got 19 in the air, but he has 8 on the ground also, and he only has 3 picks, so he's been pretty judicious. So you see Georgia by a couple touchdowns. I can't argue with that. Next game up. See, I could have said next man up and got you really start twitching, but it's Eric's one of his little
Pet
slogans
peeves.
that pet peeves.
Yeah.
So the Capital One Orange Bowl, number 4 Texas Tech, number 5 Oregon, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami or Miami Gardens to be more specific. Going to be 64 degrees, 10-mile an hour out of the wind out of the northwest. And anybody that's going to that game, I'll tell you right now, you better dress warm. Okay? If you don't believe me, ask my Buckeye friends from Dublin, Ohio, that when we went to the Orange Bowl, when they played Clemson, they told me how it was, they were all going to be okay. And that game was 63 degrees at game time. And they froze their asses off because it's a damp, cool weather. So you layer up. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling. I mean, Texas Tech. I'm sure Texas Tech and Oregon fans are paying attention to us here. The game's at noon. It's on ESPN. It's at noon Eastern time. Oregon's a 2.5-point favorite. Over unders 51.5. ESPN. This game's almost a pick'em game. ESPN has Oregon 51.6% on their predictor. The last time they met was 2 years ago. Oregon won the game 38-30. That game was in Lubbock. So Texas Tech. So we know they both have good quarterbacks. Baron Morton for Texas Tech and Dante Moore for Oregon. What are you thinking here, Boggsy?
Well, when I saw the bracket come out, I made a prediction that Oregon was going to win that side of the bracket. I would love to see Ohio State get their comeuppance over Indiana in a championship game, but I also believe that Ohio State Oregon is the best new rivalry in college football. And if you're going to add a great chapter to that new rivalry book that's being written, playing it for another national championship against one another definitely will go a long way in creating that. Texas Tech is a very interesting football team to me. They're the best roster money can buy this year. They went into the transfer portal and they spent more money than anybody in the transfer portal, and they were successful with it. They are all in on recruiting. They had I think 3 or 4 5-star that they got in the class of 2026, and they've already got one committed in class of 2027. They are the biggest threat to Texas and Texas A&M. It's not the other SEC schools. It's actually Texas Tech out recruiting them because of that oil money that's being injected into that program. I think this is an incredibly interesting football game because really you've got oil money versus Nike money, and it's really gonna be a very interesting game because Texas Tech, a lot of people say, "Well, they ain't played nobody. They're in the Big 12, and they mollywop just about everybody in the Big 12. They beat BYU twice, like beat them like a drum. So this is the hardest game for me to predict, to be honest with you. I'm going to say Oregon in a close one, by a score, simply because I think I'm going to stay true to my early prediction. But I would not be shocked if Texas Tech beats them in this game. This is going to be a very interesting game.
I'm going to give you 2 names. One is very well known for Texas Tech on defense. He's been highly publicized. In fact,
Great linebacker, Andy.
Yep, Jacob Rodriguez. But the other guy is overshadowed by Jacob Rodriguez, and that is Ben Roberts. And in the Big 12 championship game, he had 2 picks and he almost had a third one. He's a big, rangy guy, and he can move side to side. Um, so both their linebackers very agile, um, very good. One highly touted, and the other, what I would say, is a little bit um, under advertised. So, did you give me a prediction in this
I
game
said I said Oregon by a score. I think it's
by
going
a
to be a low.
score?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close football game.
Okay, all right, and then we're down to one. We're down to one. We're moving on. In this game, there's a few different anomalies before they even play the game. This is the Rose Bowl presented by Prudential. Number 1, Indiana. Number 9, Alabama. It's played in the Rose Bowl. But here is the first anomaly: 61 degrees, 100% chance of rain.
It'll be
It
rainy.
actually it actually dropped down to 93%. And so I'll tell you the other part in a minute, but winds are not much, 5 to 10 east southeast, but they expect anywhere between 1 to 2 inches of rain tomorrow, Thursday. But it's supposed to rain tomorrow. There's an 80% chance of rain tomorrow. They have that atmospheric river going on. So that's the first anomaly, because usually the weather it's cool, but it's a beautiful day. And the reason the Rose Bowl committee insists each and every year that the game starts at 5 o'clock Eastern is because the sun is starting to set over what mountains are those?
San
San
San something. I want to say San Andreas, but
that
uh,
that's what I was thinking, but the San something. Yeah, look it up while we're so. But here's the
San
second anomaly:
Gabriel.
San
San
Gabriel
Gabriel.
Mountains.
There you go.
But here's the second anomaly: this game is being played at 4 o'clock Eastern time. The Rose Bowl finally succumbed by 1 hour, and what do they get? A crap load of rain. So it's at 4 p.m. Eastern, ESPN again. Indiana's a 7-point favorite. The over under, the second lowest over under. And that is actually, this game almost should be the lowest over under because Bama doesn't score a lot. ESPN has a predictor of 71.4% IU. And the last meeting, I don't know that they ever met. So it was non-applicable or not available for when they met before. So Alabama can't run the ball very well. Indiana can run the ball pretty well. Indiana can pass it pretty well. Ty Simpson can pass the ball pretty well.
So there's a part of me that wonders, Billy Bob, if Indiana is just happy to be there after winning the Big Ten and having the season that they've had. But here's what tells me that's not the case. Kurt Signetti, I don't think, will let them be happy.
No, I don't. I was going to say that, yeah.
So I was talking myself into Indiana's probably going to bow out first round. I don't think so. And I went back and I really analyzed that game closely with Oklahoma and Alabama. I watched that thing closer more than any other first round game. There is no way Oklahoma should have lost that football game.
Oh, yeah.
They handed that thing to Alabama on a silver freaking platter. I think, and here's the thing, Indiana is not going to beat themselves. They are just not going to do it. So I think Indiana wins this football game. I think it's an ugly game. I can see it being low scoring. I can see Indiana going up by a score, maybe going up by 10 points, and then just sucking the clock out, the life out of the clock. with that running game that they've got. They got two great running backs, Hamby and I forget
And
the other one.
Keelan Black.
Yeah, there you go, key lime pie. Yeah, I love some key lime pie,
Yeah,
especially down there in Florida. Real key lime pie.
exactly.
I learned the difference between what we call key lime pie and what Floridians call key lime pie,
With the
and
real key limes.
with the real key limes. Oh boy, it's a whole different. It was life changing for this fat guy. So, um, but I think Indiana wins in a close one. Give me Indiana by like 6.5. 6 points, 7 points.
I'm gonna give you just a couple. We were talking about the running game and how Indiana can run the ball better than Alabama. So uh, between Roman Hemby and Keelan Black, they're Hemby 918 yards, Keelan Black 798 yards, pretty much 800 yards. Conversely, Bama, Jam Miller, who's now supposedly healthy and back, 500 yards. And their number two guy, Daniel Hill, who's a big bruiser, but he doesn't have any speed, 270 yards. So between the two of them, they have less yards than the number two back at Indiana. And then you take a look quickly at Bama's offense. Their overall offense yards per game ranked 82nd. Rushing game ranked 121st. Passing game much better at 28th. Points per game 33rd, better there. Where you know Indiana 8th total yards, 10th in rushing, 38th in passing, and I don't even know where I lost my. Where are they? I don't see where they are in total points, but doesn't matter.
Let's not forget here
fourth.
either. I don't think Fernando Mendoza has a Heisman letdown. I don't think that's his makeup to have a Heisman letdown.
I agree.
I think he's very even keel. He's a very humble kid. I think he's going to play within himself. He's not going to try to do too much. He's not, he's going to let the game come to him, which is exactly what Indiana wants him to do and needs him to do. I think Indiana's got the better quarterback in this game too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 33 touchdowns in the air, 6 on the ground, only 6 picks. Ty Simpson pretty good though, 28 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, so a total of 30 and only 5 picks. So 3,500 yards because they couldn't run the damn ball.
Exactly.
So 3,500 yards. So he got about 700 yards more than Mendoza passing. But Mendoza could rely on the run. Plus, Mendoza didn't play as much second half of some of these games because now maybe there was some weaker competition from time to time, but they certainly showed they could playing the Buckeyes in the Big Ten championship game. Larry Daniels says, I think Indiana is primed to lay an egg in the playoff. At some point, they will be tested. Larry, did you not think so? Did the Buckeyes just crapola? They didn't test Indiana at all? I mean, come on. Maybe the Buckeyes didn't play their best game, but they tested Indiana. Would you agree with that, Bugsy?
Yeah, they're tested, all right. They're for real.
And they went on the road and beat Oregon.
Well, and that sets up what I have been talking about that no one seems to be mentioning, and they really should be. But it's ESCCPN, so they're never going to talk about it. I think an Oregon Indiana matchup rematch is really like that appeals to me. That game was really entertaining, and I would love to see what Oregon does the second time around offensively against Indiana, and how Kurt Cignetti can kind of come up with something new or different to combat what Oregon's probably going to be bringing. Dante Moore's been talking about this a lot lately. An opportunity to play Indiana again. He felt he had his worst game ever against Indiana earlier that season, and he really wants to make up for that. I think that is going to be an incredibly intriguing game. And plus, if Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State all win, What's that say about the Big Ten when you got 3 out of the 4 in the Final Four?
Pretty strong.
Hmm. Yeah.
Pretty strong. So it would, as they say, it would shift the dynamics of the college football world.
Yeah. Well,
Because then
I think those dynamics have already been shifted. It's just there's some politicking that's not been shifting with it.
well, but then there's the potential, because nothing is nothing is given, everything's earned. But there's the potential that there could be a Big Ten team in the championship game and a Big Ten winner in the championship game for the third year in a row.
Hmm.
So
There's also potential that we lay an egg and all 3 lose, and there's no Big Ten
that's
teams in the
there.
Final
That's
Four.
there. Hey, by the
That world is
way,
out there.
Bama got a couple guys defensively. They're pretty good. Deontay Lawson, their linebacker, real good is their cornerback, which Indiana cannot sit on. And that's a kid, Sabian Brown, who picked Mateer, pick 6 on Mateer. Was that right before the half that he
Oh
picked
gosh,
him
yeah, it completely just
to
changed
tie
the
the game?
entire. Yeah, it was between that and the dropped punt. It was
Oh my
just
God. And that was just a drop. That wasn't even like the one that Ohio State against, I don't know, was it Penn State or somebody earlier? Rutgers, I don't know, where the kid, it was a low drop, but he kicked it and he kicked it right into somebody's rear end.
it was Caden Curry. Caden Curry got a butt block, as we called it.
Got a butt block. Maybe we need a little, yeah, we'll step. There's a lot of things a lot of places we can go with the butt block, but we'll leave it. One other question on Bama's defense. There's a kid, he's playing defensive end, playing a lot. And I think the Buckeyes recruited him and he ended up going to Bama. Keon Keeley.
Hmm.
Did they?
I remember the
It's
name.
team.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they offered. I don't know how serious he was in the process, but yeah, they offered him. But
I
um,
froze up again.
yeah, at least this time you're not you don't have a dumbfound look on your face.
There we go. I'm back. Yeah. Well, most found look on my face. Bugs. Like, what happened? All right. So you got Indiana, you
Yep,
got Oregon,
yep,
you got Georgia,
yep,
and you got the Buckeyes.
yep.
So based on there are 3 Big Ten teams that would advance.
Hmm.
So then you got Oregon, Indiana as a rematch, and the Buckeyes in a rematch from 2022, presumably against the Georgia Dogs, because that's who you predict. All right. Before we get out of here, you tell everybody again about tomorrow, but tell everybody again quickly about. I'll do this like they do on TV. We only got about 10 seconds here, Boggsy. No, we have all the time. They say we got 10 seconds and they ask a 2-minute question.
Yeah.
I don't know, Clark. But anyway, tell everybody what's going on quick with the podcast and then what's going on tomorrow. So,
Sure.
overall.
Sure. So we're doing so the OHIO podcast will be celebrating here in a few months. We get to March, we'll be celebrating gosh, what it'll be year number 7 already. Our 7th birthday as a podcast. So that's coming up, and we've got a lot of great things on the horizon. We're working with Gamut Media on improving every aspect of what we do. So we're very excited about the professional changes that are going to be made as we move forward. So a lot of good things going to be coming your way. Beyond that, tomorrow specifically, we're going to be doing a tailgate party at 6 o'clock. So a virtual tailgate party with some virtual backyard barbecue, maybe. How about that? That's good for a tailgate.
I'll have to put my smell get some smell candles out, Could a little short or baby back candle, you know?
A baby back,
Not
baby back
not
rib.
baby got back, a baby back candle.
Very different smell in that one. Well, we're going to be having a virtual tailgate party at 6 o'clock tomorrow on our YouTube channel. Feel free to join us if you'd like. We're going to be talking about the game, hanging out with some people, just like we would at a regular tailgate. And then that's going to bleed right over into the game watch over on Patreon. So please consider joining us over on Patreon. The links will be provided and everything. Yeah, and we hope that Miami does indeed choke on those poisonous nuts from Ohio tomorrow.
Very good. And before I give my out, we must say OH.
IO.
Go Bucks. It's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Sorry about the delay. Glad you hung with us. It'll be also available on YouTube and on Facebook as a recording. Go back and listen to it. As Boggsy would say, if you don't want to see our ugly faces, you can just listen to it or you can watch it. But till we meet again, America, land of the free because of the brave. Stay focused, America. Go Bucks. Billy Bob, peace out. Thanks, Boggsy.
You got it, my man.